That's right, ladies and gentlemen. You are listening to the Sound of Freedom live. This is Tuesday, October 30th, 2012. I'm Ryan Brooks. Thank you so much for joining us, folks. This is the Orion Talk Radio Network. Just got done co-hosting Maggie Rodden's show, The Unsolicited Opinion, with Sean from Down Under, and had a great time talking with him. We hope that Maggie is doing okay. I'm sure she can fend for herself, but as you know, Hurricane Sandy is taking its toll on the East Coast. Maggie Rodden lost power today, but as far as we know, she's doing okay. I'm not worried about any bandits or looters messing with her. Hopefully she gets her power back on here quick. But with that being said, I just want to thank everybody for tuning in. I want to say hello to everybody in the chat room. It looks like it's filling up pretty quick tonight. And as usual, we have a lot of good stuff to talk about here. I'm going to talk a little bit about Afghanistan. We have more stuff in the news from Afghanistan. Some storm information, things that we probably saw coming. And if you didn't see them coming, I'll just kind of touch on that a little bit. We've got news from San Francisco with American people partying it up in the streets because their baseball team won. So they're setting stuff on fire and living like it's 1999. What else do we have here? We've got an encouraging video. Obama, well, this will be an audio clip for the listeners, but President Obama, his supporters actually hate his policies. So stick around for that. That's a very interesting audio clip. And then after we get done with that, I'm just going to start a dialogue about our society and what's going on with it, where I feel like it's going, and why. And then for the rest of the broadcast, we're going to talk about solutions, because I know that's kind of hard to find these days. It's almost easy to find people who are saying, hey, look, things are wrong. Things are messed up. Things are bad. It's so bad and wrong that a 5-year-old could figure it out. Now, I know there's a lot of people out there who still think everything is fine and they're going along to get along, but that's the world we live in. But nonetheless, we do have a lot to get into. As usual, so little time and so much to talk about. Thank you again for joining us, folks. This is a live broadcast. Now, with that being said, on October 25th, 2012, I've been meaning to mention it. However, we've been running out of time so much here. 2 of the NATO killed in action soldiers, whenever they have one die, they immediately say it's NATO. Majority of NATO is made up of United States soldiers. And 2 of the NATO killed in action, I reported on it, I believe, at the beginning of last week. Well, they came out with the names of them. Sergeant Clinton K. Ruiz, 22 years old, and Staff Sergeant Kashif M. Memom, a staff sergeant who was 31 years old. Both of them died from green-on-blue incidents in the Ruiz province in Afghanistan. The green-on-blue, where our friends, our allies over there, the Afghan police force, Afghan border patrol, Afghan military that we are training and that we can't do much without as far as our missions. They've been turning on Americans and killing them lately. That's what the green on blue is, for anybody who didn't know. That makes them the 2,143, 2,144 American men or women who have been killed in Afghanistan. And before I touch on that, also coming out of Afghanistan yesterday, October 29th, NATO is saying that ISAF is not responsible for the security of Afghan borders. Now, folks, every American service member in Afghanistan wears an ISAF patch. That's who they fall under. The United States military is not in charge. They fall under the international security of Afghanistan forces or whatnot. They're under the jurisdiction of NATO. The U.S. is just the elephant in the room. We supply all the soldiers, all the materials. We take all the deaths for the most part, but we're not even in charge. So I just found that was interesting. ISAF not responsible for the security of the Afghan borders. When I was in Afghanistan, that was our number 2 mission. The first mission was to secure the area, to map out and to find our friendly Afghan border patrol stations. And this was south of Kandahar in the Kandahar district, right near the Pakistani border. And the next mission that we had, the number 2 most important thing to the prime directive, was to secure the border. To secure the border from Pakistan. And numerous times of late night OPs is what we call them, observation posts, or we'd stay up all night and hide on a mountain or sit in the middle of darkness with our high-tech surveillance equipment and watch the Pakistani border. Numerous times we saw Taliban come over the mountains from Pakistan, come into our jurisdiction in Afghanistan. We were told to stand down, go back to base, and believe it or not, within a couple of weeks, the American forces in our area would either be attacked or hit IEDs, and soldiers would die, lose limbs, be injured, things of that nature. So now I find that it's interesting that they're saying that they're not even responsible for security of the Afghan borders at all. I mean, I'm just kind of scratching my head here. I mean, I don't know. I mean, you talk about nonsense. Not only do soldiers get a new rules of engagement literally by the day. Hey, today you can't fire warning shots. If somebody's coming too close to the convoy, you shoot to kill. Tomorrow, okay, now before you shoot a warning shot, because now that's the new thing we're going to do, you're going to shoot a warning shot. But before that, make sure you flash your green laser, wave your hand up and down 5 times, yell out stop. Then you can shoot a warning shot to make sure it's towards the ground, not the sky, and then you can fire. And if you don't do that, then, well, any round that's fired actually is under investigation in Afghanistan. So you literally have infantrymen, cavalrymen, and other, the Marines as well, soldiers that train to kill, to seek and destroy, to identify the enemy and then kill them. Now they're too scared to pull the trigger because they don't know if they're going to get in trouble or not. That actually happened to me when I was riding on the very last vehicle in the convoy, and we had this whack job driving incredibly crazy, swerving around, doing all this stuff, getting really, really close. And I thought to myself, is he violating the rules of engagement? I'm scared. I don't want to pull the trigger because I'm going to get in trouble. Luckily for us, he was just some type of silly guy who was messing with us. And I had friends who were like, man, you should have lit him up. I mean, I had a machine gun, 7.62 millimeter, 240 Bravo machine gun. I could have lit him up easy. But I was too busy thinking in a life or death situation, should I pull the trigger? Should I pull the trigger? Am I going to get in trouble? What are the rules of engagement for today? I can't remember. Oh, my gosh. And it just shows. I mean, I'm not Superman. I'm not Rambo. But if that happened to me, I mean, it's happening to a lot of other soldiers. So just interesting. Now the border isn't our job anymore. It's the Afghans who sit around and smoke marijuana and don't care at all. Not that I think it even should be our job. I think our job should be to come home, but talk about restrictions. And one other thing that's very interesting, I think this is just complete stupidity. The New York Times, October 29th, reporting, when Afghans look to border with Pakistan, they don't see a fixed line. Oh my gosh, that's breaking. That's breaking news. Folks, we've been at war in Pakistan for 11 years, and the New York Times is just now figuring this out. I could have told you that in 2009. What? And the article goes on to talk about how strange it is because the border is literally an invisible zigzag, and there's buildings that you think are in Afghanistan, but actually they're in Pakistan and vice versa, and that the American forces can't go close to Pakistan because it violates the law. And yeah, I mean, this isn't a war. This is a horrible conflict, a horrible nation-building exercise. And the soldiers who are dying over there really are dying for no reason. And I know that I've had people say, well, they're the ones who join. They're the ones who are dumb enough to do this. And I understand that. But what I'm getting at is, once again, the society, we still have a military worship problem. I'm going to cover that right on the other side of the break. I have an interesting story about that. But we just blindly worship the military, and we're trained to have double speak and double think, where it's like, I support the troops, but I don't support the war. We shouldn't. I'm not saying we should not support the troops, because we don't want to have another Vietnam situation where guys who are being drafted come home and have feces thrown on them and things like that and be called baby killers. I'm not endorsing that whatsoever. However, when all these kids who are growing up in hard economic times and don't have very many options, they grow up and they're encouraged to be a transgendered emo person. They don't know what sex they are. In California, heck, they're trying to make it so they can have sexual operations, and they don't even need their parents' permission. I mean, this is all going on. So, hey, join the military, be a man, fight for your country, protect us from the terrorists. That's what needs to stop, folks. That's the problem. But hey, we're just getting warmed up here. I've got a very interesting story about soldier worship. I'll let you guys be the judge. We've got so much more. Obama supporters hate Obama, preparation for what's coming, storm news, and a whole lot more. Sound of Freedom, Orion Talk Radio. Stay tuned. We're going to be right back.